Second part is on Survivalist RPGs. These are a little different than the ones that I've outlined in my last video. Here we have Traveler, Call of Cthulhu, Twilight 2000, Hostile, which is also part of Traveler, kind of in the same mechanics, DCC, especially in the beginning, and Paranoia. These systems use a bottleneck approach, and your characters are expendable. Characters will usually have secret backgrounds, different kinds of motives, different kinds of objectives that they wish to achieve according to their backgrounds. Sometimes the players can work with this with the game master himself, which brings up really interesting interactive gaming. A lot of player versus player stuff happening as well, but the players can also work together in order to achieve goals throughout the game. These are usually short sessions, but they can travel through like different sessions with the same characters in certain ways. A lot of these are set up like Traveler and Call of Cthulhu, or even Battletech too. Battletech could also be put in here. So let's write that one down. Battletech. So keep in mind, there is something that the Game Master must put if you're going to continue on the game through numerous sessions. There's certain things you got to put in. Like, for instance, Traveler and Hostile will probably be the ship. The ship is the common thing. The different crews that crew the same ship is a great idea. That way you have a history of the ship and its numerous crews and what has happened to that ship. That's always a good kind of idea to create upon. The Call of Cthulhu is the same kind of thing, except you're making a society. So the society will have like it'll be the common thing throughout all your sessions. They will be interchanging characters or losing characters as time goes on. There'll be new ones that be drawn into the society, and they continue on with their investigations, trying to figure out what's going on. Who you can build on these games that way, and continue with interest with the players. Twilight 2000 will usually take place in Europe. You're pretty much surviving in a post-apocalyptic kind of gameplay. So your group of mercenaries are, doing what they need to survive. You could also put like Gamma World in this subject as well, in this idea. Also, DCC, like I say, it starts off with a group of nobodies. They're all expendable. You're likely going to be creating numerous characters, going through a bottleneck, and seeing who survives, basically. And who survives ends up becoming players further on in the game, which will evolve into that previous page that I showed you when we first opened up this video. And refer to my last video for those ideas. Paranoia, you are basically one of 6 clones that start off, and there's the same thing, secret backgrounds, motives, objectives that your character will have, including your fellow clones. And you know, it's a game of survival. So Battletech, it kind of, you know, verges between the two, like my last video and this one. Although I do tend to like to put, like, the characters are mercenaries, and you can play with heroic paths or mercenary paths in this one as well, very easily. I mean, you could also do the same with these ones as well. However, the thing is, the mechanics behind a lot of these games is the players are, expendable. Their mortality is going to be tested. So that is a totally different kind of game that you have to work around as the game master. In all functions of all game mastery, bottlenecks is kind of rather important in order to maintain somewhat of a control. So these games, the survivalist RPGs, are all kind of a thing on their own. You know, it comes to, you know, most of the arcs will be, you know, as I've written here, you're going to be looking at your fellow player as a player of let them die or save them. So that will end up becoming the main question throughout the game as you play it. A lot of situations in Traveler is basically you're on a ship, you're contained, you're bottlenecked, something goes wrong with the ship, or you receive a transmission, you need to go out, required by law, to check it out, or you get boarded, or you land on a planet and things go really wrong, or numerous things. There's all kinds of different takes on Traveler and Hostile. Same, it's kind of the same game here. So Call of Cthulhu, yeah, you're racing towards a who's gonna lose their sanity first or get killed. Thing is, in all of these, characters are gonna die rather fast. Battletech, especially if you're a foot soldier, your mortality in battle is I mean, you're gonna die even as a mech warrior. You always are constantly threatened to have body parts fly off and stuff like that too, so you never know what's gonna happen with these games. Yeah, bottlenecking, you got to do it in certain ways in all these games. In Battletech, your bottleneck is basically the jump points from system to system. So whatever planet you start on is basically where you will be contesting against groups of adversaries in various ways. The game master can make different scenarios where you're doing espionage or sabotage or all-out battles if you wanted. Traveler, you can also be just trading if you know the ship that you're on is doing trade routes and stuff like that, and then encountering pirates or whatever. That the bottleneck there is, you know, the repair of your ship and the upkeep and keeping things going and trying to make enough money to keep that ship afloat and the crew afloat. Call of Cthulhu, you're trying to uncover the mystery before everybody dies. Twilight 2000 is kind of similar to Traveler in a way. You can play it as a trading game, trading for munitions, supplies, the any kind of food stocks, that sort of stuff. And there's going to be firefights between survivalists and factions and that sort of stuff. DCC, like I say, in the beginning, it will be a bloodfest of players going through a grinder. if you play it that way. You can play it past that grinder, and then of course my previous video comes into play, whether or not they want to become mercenaries or follow heroic paths. Paranoia, you're trying to achieve objectives put out by the computer, and dealing with all the strange quirks, ironic situations that you may come up with. It's usually the Paranoia game is basically a one-off kind of thing where you play a session for the entire scenario and see what happens, because there's a lot of parody in this and comedy, so you have to play it in that kind of aspect. Yeah, Traveler, Call of Cthulhu, Twilight, and Hostile. Battletech take more serious kind of looks at stuff. Well, DCC is kind of more comedic in the way that things go on. It's very gonzo. So, yeah, and the players have to be on board with what's going on here. They have to realize that they are expendable. There will be bottlenecks. It's not necessarily... It's challenges for the players in order to survive. It's not necessarily putting them on a railroad, although that is a good way for the game master to keep control in these situations, because these are, like I say, more mercenary kind of related games. In the background, you will always have something of a secret background or a motive or objective, which plays on how you as a player will play, and the game master just basically runs the game in the idea of being fully neutral to the whole thing. And I work on a timeline. On my side of the view, it's always NPCs, like I've said on a even previous video. My focus is on NPCs, their objectives, or the monsters, what their objectives are, and go from there. Because I have really no control over how the players are going to proceed in this game. My only method of somewhat control is going to be the bottlenecks. That's my take, and hopefully that gives you some idea of that third way of role-playing that comes up. Survivalist RPGs. So there's probably a few more that I have not touched on here, but for me, I've played a lot of Traveler, a little bit of Call of Cthulhu. Twilight 2000 I played that a lot back in the 80s, mid to late 80s. Hostile is, like I say, I got that recently. I haven't played a game of Hostile, but it's exactly the same as Traveler. So you can mix and match between these two games very easily. Tons of Battletech, especially back in the 80s and 90s. And currently, again, playing some more of that. DCC, I have not played any DCC yet. I just gone through all the mechanics, knowing what everything is, and I'm pretty confident I can run a game with this fairly easily. Paranoia, tons of Paranoia. I've actually never played as a player in Paranoia. I've only game mastered Paranoia, and that is, like I say, that's a totally different mindset in gaming as well for the game master. So there you go. Hopefully that gives you some kind of insight on this. Thanks for checking in. Bye.